This is Beyonce's post on Valentine's Day 2024, pictured outside of Circus in Las Vegas. The owner of Circus is Phil Ruffin. He also owns the Las Vegas Festival Grounds. This is Beyonce's trademark for Rodeo Circus. Not circuit, but circus. This is the brightest spot on Earth, Las Vegas. This is the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. Sirius is a binary star system, meaning it contains two stars that orbit each other. Here, you see Sirius A and Sirius B locked in a cosmic dance. This is the opening of the Renaissance World Tour. Two stars orbiting each other before they clash together into a black hole, forming the singularity. This is Sopdet, the ancient Egyptian goddess of fertility, renewal of life, and flooding of the Nile. Kendrick and Beyonce's song on Black is King is called Nile. Sopdet is also the personification of the star Sirius, pictured with a star above her head. This is Beyonce's famous Renaissance pose. It looks like two stars above her head. This is the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit tour teaser. There are two stars on the sign. We've seen the two-star motif over and over and over again. Sirius is known by two other names. The Diamond Star, because of its twinkling brilliance and being the brightest star in the sky, and the Dog Star, because it resides in the constellation Canis Major, meaning greater dog in Latin. In mythology, Canis Major was Orion's loyal companion, forever following the great hunter across the sky. Solange went on a Saint Orion tour back in 2017, and in 2025, she currently has a work of art on display called Orion's Rise at the Metropolitan Museum's Flight into Egypt, Black Artists and Ancient Egypt exhibition. Solange shared in this post that Orion is significant to her because she was conceived in Egypt on a riverboat cruise on the Nile River. The stars on Orion's belt line up with the three pyramids of Giza. Orion and Sirius, forever linked as loyal companions to each other in the stars, just like Beyonce and Solange's eternal sisterly bond. Now you'll know I predicted back on December 24th, 2024, that there would be a tour coming, and it'd be called the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour, based on my discovery that there were many trademarks under the name Rodeo Chitlin Circuit. I guessed correctly based on that information. Now, you might want to sit down for this. After uncovering all of these connections, the Renaissance Tour, the hand pose, the double star motif, Orion and Sirius, imagine my shock when I discovered that Beyonce holds a trademark for Canis Major, which is Sirius, the dog star. She also previously held a trademark for Saint Orion clothing, though it's since expired. However, trademarks often get renewed, as I've seen happen while watching her Echoville trademark statuses. Now, that was a lot of information, but I have a lot more for you. I have not even scratched the surface here, and I'm going to break down in this video what I think the Las Vegas tour date not being announced yet means, what's the symbolism with Sirius, the possibilities of a Las Vegas festival, and many other predictions. This may be my wildest video that I've ever done. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support of my YouTube and TikTok. Building a community that deeply analyzes Beyonce's symbolic storytelling and art that so many of us connect with has been truly incredible. Her work deserves to be studied, and I'm grateful to share that with you. Despite what many of you think, I am not secretly Beyonce, nor do I work for Parkwood, though I'll take the compliment. And no, I'm not Julius either. I do all of this work on my own time, writing, researching, and editing, before work and after work, early in the mornings, hoping one day to turn this channel into something sustainable. I'm just one person who loves Beyonce, and every video I do is truly a labor of love. I did see Beyonce once, back in the Miss Carter World Tour, with my mom when I was a kid, but I haven't seen her as an adult. I'd love to see the Cowboy Carter Tour. If you'd like to support that, or my work in general, you can buy me a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/lorebreakers. It's basically a virtual tip jar. You can also find a link in my bio and below in this video. Also exciting news, I've officially hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I'm launching channel members soon. I just signed up for their creator program, so keep an eye out. Channel members will get early access to videos and vote on future topics, so stay tuned. Of course, no pressure at all. I completely understand that sometimes spending even $1 can feel like a lot. So just watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting is more than enough and completely free and really helps me more than you know. Now, let's get into it. Part 1. Why so Sirius? Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, has been revered across cultures for centuries, inspiring myths, deities, and rituals. But in this video, I want to focus specifically on its role in Egyptian mythology, the significance of the date 211, and how it holds deep significance to Beyonce. In ancient Egypt, Sirius, known as Sopdet, portrayed with the star of Sirius above her head, was celebrated for its heliacal rising, when it first appeared in the morning sky after being hidden by the sun. This event signaled the imminent flooding of the Nile, which was essential for agriculture, bringing fertility and renewal to the land. Because of this, Sopdet was associated with abundance, rebirth, and the cycle of life. Though associated with life-giving waters, it's also associated with cleansing fire. The phrase, "the dog days are over," originates from the dog days of summer, a period of extreme heat, named after Sirius, the dog star. In Egypt, this scorching season preceded the Nile's flood, making it a time of hardship before renewal. This connection reinforces Sirius as a symbol of both suffering and transformation. Intense heat followed by life-giving water, destruction followed by rebirth. The yearly rising of Sirius, ushering in the flood of the Nile, was around July 18th to July 20th each year. Remember that date. The ancient Egyptians were among the earliest recorded civilizations to observe and venerate Sirius, as evidenced by hieroglyphs and texts dating back over 5,000 years. The heliacal rising of Sirius was central to their calendar, marking the start of the new year. Egyptians were the first to document Sirius and integrate it into their religious and agricultural system. We know Beyonce loves to look at Egyptian history, and opening the Coachella homecoming in this Egyptian outfit further substantiates this theory. The dual nature of Sirius, the star, two stars dancing in the cosmos, led me to think maybe there was some kind of tie to an Egyptian love story, and sure enough, there is. The great Egyptian love story is that of Osiris and Isis. Osiris, the god of the underworld, had a wife, Isis. Osiris was murdered and dismembered by his jealous brother Set. Isis gathered the pieces of his body and through her divine magic resurrected him long enough to conceive their son Horus. This is where we get the Eye of Horus from. This myth represents death, renewal, and undying love in the eternal cycle of life, much like the flooding of the Nile ensured Egypt's survival each year. Because of this, Sirius's return to the sky was not just an agricultural marker, but it was a cosmic reenactment of Isis's mourning, her magic, and the resurrection of Osiris, symbolizing the triumph of life over death, light over darkness. The ancient Egyptians believed that the star of Orion represented the god Osiris. This cycle of destruction and rebirth, the scorching dog days of summer, followed by the life-giving flood of the Nile, perfectly mirrors the myth of Osiris and Isis and the duality of Sirius in Egyptian mythology. Remember, Beyonce holds a trademark for Canis Major. We find Sirius in the constellation Canis Major. Just as Osiris had to die before he could be reborn through Horus, the land had to endure oppressive heat before being revitalized by the flood. The death leading to renewal made Sirius a star of ultimate paradox and duality, a theme that we see Beyonce embodying throughout her acts. I interpret Beyonce as having to endure the oppressive racism after her Daddy Lessons performance at the CMAs, but after that, she had a homecoming, and she was reborn, a renaissance, a rebirth. Remember, that's the literal definition of a renaissance. This is Beyonce in Find Your Way Back from Black is King, the first thematic follow-up to Daddy Lessons. In the video for Find Your Way Back, on either side of her, we see masked dancers wearing the Dogon tribe masks. The Dogon, a Malian tribe, are renowned for their deep astronomical logic, particularly of the Sirius star system. Long before modern science, they accurately described Sirius as a multi-star system and had advanced understandings of celestial movements, despite having no recorded history of telescopes. They also saw Sirius A, the brightest star, as a masculine force. Then there's Sirius B, the smaller star, the feminine, mystical, secretive, and transformative. They saw these two stars as masculine and feminine. Another fascinating fact about Sirius is that its light takes 8.6 years to reach Earth. Symbolically, this means that when we look at Sirius, we are seeing light began its journey nearly 9 years ago. Here's a striking parallel. In 2016, Beyonce faced backlash at the CMAs. 8 years later, in 2024, she releases Cowboy Carter. Just like Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, Beyonce's creative vision had to travel through time and darkness before fully emerging. The rejection she faced at the CMAs didn't diminish her. It set her on a path of deep discovery, leading her to uncover the rich black history of country music. In searching for truth, she found her way back home, chronicled throughout Black is King, looking at her ancestors in the stars, just like Simba did, and transforming that pain into something radiant. Just as the light of Sirius takes years to reach us, shaped by the darkness it passes through, Beyonce's brilliance shines even brighter after the obstacles she endured, culminating in a masterpiece forged by time, resilience, and transformation. Space has been a recurring theme throughout Beyonce's work, from Black is King to Renaissance to the Verizon commercial, where she's seen launched into space as the first artist to perform in space. But perhaps the most striking instant appears inside the Cowboy Carter vinyl. Beyonce, on a horse, planting a flag on the moon. At first glance, it's an unexpected image, but consider, the most famous moment in history tied to planting a flag on the moon is the Apollo 11 moon landing. The flag wasn't just for show, it was a statement. America, we were here first. Within the theme of Cowboy Carter, this image fits in perfectly. The symbolism runs deep. Beyonce is reclaiming the flag and staking her place in country music like America staked their place on the moon, reminding the world that black artists were the true pioneers of the genre. It's a direct challenge to the erasure of black contributions, asserting that she and those before her have always belonged. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. The Apollo 11 took 4 days to arrive at the moon, launching July 16, 1969, and landing July 20, 1969. This is the exact same time frame of Sirius's annual heliacal rising. Now I know this all sounds like a stretch, but stick with me here, because I need to tease a bit more out. The Apollo 11 program holds a deeper symbolic meaning when examined through a mythology and symbolic lens. In Greek mythology, Apollo and Artemis were twin deities, again evoking that twin motif that we've seen throughout the work. This embodies the balance of masculine and feminine. The theme Beyonce has spoken to in regarding to her twins Rumi and Sir is that she believes she conceived them because it was a personal reconciliation of these forces being able to grow in her blood for the first time, male and female energy able to reconcile. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, the moon, and childbirth, in contrast with Apollo, the god of music, prophecy, sun, and light. Notably, Artemis helped deliver Apollo at birth. There's also a direct mythological connection between Apollo, Artemis, Orion, and Sirius. Artemis hunted alongside Orion. Remember, Orion is the hunter and Sirius is his hunting dog. They're next to each other as constellations in the stars. But after Apollo tricked Artemis into killing Orion out of jealousy, she placed Orion among the stars as the constellation. This parallels Osiris and Isis, with Isis mourning and resurrecting Osiris, just as Artemis immortalized Orion. The contrast between Apollo's scorching sun, like the dog days of summer, and Artemis's cool lunar nature, aligned with the Nile flooding and renewal, mirrors the cyclical destruction and rebirth marked by Sirius's rising. The Apollo space program was named after Apollo, signifying exploration and discovery, while the NASA Artemis program is named after Artemis, and its plan is to return humans to the moon, a symbolic return of the feminine. NASA's Orion spacecraft is part of the Artemis program, and it is designed to carry humans deeper into space than ever before. In Beyonce's Horizon commercial, she declares drop the new music when she announces Cowboy Carter at the Super Bowl on February 11, 2024. Just as she is launched into space, she says drop the new music. There's an eerie parallel to the Orion vessel that launches people into space. And if Beyonce really were to go to space, she would be in an Orion vessel that is part of the Artemis program at NASA. Further reinforcing this theme, Beyonce's 2024 Grammy look foreshadowed her upcoming country album. However, no one seemed to catch on to this, but I did post a video about it. She wore 2 matching Louis Vuitton outfits, one with pants, masculine, and one with skirt, feminine. Masculine and feminine, the duality of Sirius, Isis and Osiris, Artemis and Apollo, Rumi and Sir. I posted this video predicting something would happen in regards to Act 2 on February 11th because the way I saw this image was like this. 2 Beyonce side by side representing the Roman numeral 2. Act 2. But also you could look at the two of her like two number ones making an 11, signifying a visual metaphor of 211. And I was right. We got the Cowboy Carter Act 2 announcement with two singles dropping via the Verizon commercial at the Super Bowl. LVIII, that was in Las Vegas on 2/11. Las Vegas, Louis Vuitton. This was all a foreshadowing. Now, Apollo 11, the mission that brought us to the moon for the first time, can also be seen as 211. Apollo being the twins, Apollo and Artemis, signified by the number 2 and 11. 211. LV is a Roman numeral 55. 5 and 5 is 10. 1s and zeros from the Matrix. This is not a stretch because we see the Matrix in the mind control visuals in the Renaissance World Tour. We see these 1s and zeros. The Matrix that we are living in is believing in a false history, a false reality. But Beyonce reminds us in Yaya that history cannot be erased. The 1s and zeros in the mind control interlude are flashing along with the Jim Morrison quote, "The people who control the media control the mind." The people who control the country music establishment and media were lying about its foundation. Beyonce won't let this break her soul. She's building a new foundation. Back to LV equaling 55. 5 and 5. Two hands held over her head like Sirius. 5 and 5. Two hands to heaven, where she singing sweet songs to Las Vegas, in a visualizer of a desert landscape. She also sings diamonds and rhinestones both shine in the light. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, and Las Vegas is the brightest spot on Earth. What makes Sirius bright is natural. It's a star, a diamond in the sky. What makes Vegas so bright is fake, fluorescent lights, but they still shine just as brilliantly. Diamonds and rhinestones both shine in the light, but the truth and the lies can look identical. How do you tell them apart in a media landscape controlled by those whose narratives are rooted in racism? The country music establishment will have you thinking the Carter family are the first family of country music. But it's not true. They got all of these songs from Leslie Riddle, an African-American musicologist and folk song scholar. Beyonce releasing Cowboy Carter as a reclamation of country music is literally a black Carter family coming to reclaim from the white Carter family. Artemis's mission is returning to the moon. Beyonce returns to the moon in this image, the feminine return to reclaim country music. The flood of the Nile coming in, water, femininity, divine femininity coming to heal the world with love, not violence. Where was the Apollo 2 command center? Houston, her house. And when did Apollo 11 land on the moon? July 18th it entered the moon's gravity, July 19th it entered the orbit, and July 20th they landed on the lunar surface. The same dates as the heliacal rising of Sirius when the Nile floods. What is the only date we don't have for the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour? Las Vegas. The last date on the flyer is Las Vegas, but the last date announced on her site is 7/11 in Atlanta. We do not have the Las Vegas dates yet. Now we know that she wants these dates to be significant because she's freaking performing on the 4th of July in Washington, D.C. I believe Beyonce is going to be launching something large in Las Vegas, but I don't feel like it's a residency. I feel like she may be launching an annual 3-day festival called the Rodeo Circus, similar to how Jay-Z had the Made in America festival. And its inaugural date would be Friday, July 18th, Saturday, July 19th, and Sunday, July 20th. Lining up with that first Apollo 11 mission and the 3 days as it entered closer and closer and then officially landing on the moon. I believe she's going to be announcing this during Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime show or during the Super Bowl in the Levi's Jeans Chapter 2 ad that we know is upcoming. I think the festival could also be sponsored by Verizon. Speaking of Levi's Jeans, this is Beyonce's Levi's Jeans Chapter 1 ad. She tosses diamonds into the wash, not just stone-washed jeans, a denim treatment popularized in the 1970s and 80s and closely associated with Levi's. The process uses pumice stones in industrial washing machines to create a worn, faded look. This is Beyonce on the Sphere in Las Vegas with a screen full of diamonds echoing those from the Levi's ad. Denim on denim on denim. You know what denim was in the 1960s? The unofficial uniform for civil rights activists. While denim was originally associated with sharecroppers, laborers, and prisoners, activists reclaimed it as a badge of defiance against respectability politics. At the time, black activists were often expected to dress in suits and dresses to appear acceptable to white society. but organizers deliberately wore denim to align themselves with the working-class black communities that they were fighting for, the same communities historically denied access to economic mobility. Denim was also practical. It was durable, protective, and suited for the harsh realities of activism, long marches, arrests, and violent confrontations with police. Wearing denim signified a rejection of assimilation and a refusal to conform to the standards imposed by white supremacy. So when Beyonce wears denim on denim on denim, it's more than just a fashion statement. It's a strong political statement, a nod to the history of black resistance and reclamation of denim's deeper meaning. It ties into Cowboy Carter's themes of ownership, rebellion, and rewriting history, just as the black activists once did when they made denim their uniform in a fight for justice. This all echoes back to Kendrick wearing denim on denim on denim at the Grammys this year. Yes, it was a stab at Drake and the Canadian tuxedo, but given Kendrick's history, I believe there's a double meaning in this denim on denim look that he wore. I believe it was a foreshadowing to his Super Bowl performance and a nod to the civil rights history. But before we get more into Kendrick, and boys, there are more to cover, I just want to do one more interesting note to Sirius. Many of you saw my analysis of Beyonce's frequent use of the bang gun throughout Renaissance and Cowboy Carter. The bang gun was frequently used by the Joker and Batman, the famous tagline cemented by Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, "Why so serious?" Sirius, a homophone for Sirius, the constellation. The Joker is a symbol of duality, both a destroyer and a liberator, a force of chaos that dismantles stagnant structures to make way for something new, just like Beyonce is doing with genres, winning Grammys across all genres. The Joker operates outside the bounds of society, refusing to be controlled, embodying the paradox of destruction as a necessary precursor to rebirth. By incorporating the bang-on that is inextricably linked to the Joker in pop culture portrayals, Beyonce isn't just playing with spectacle. Much like the spectacle of a bad miracle, again, a paradoxical statement, a bad miracle, that Jordan Peele uses in Nope. By the way, did you guys see how Monkey Paw retweeted me and posted me on their Instagram? Wild. I know a Jordan Peele film is coming. They cannot get me off their trail. Anyways, Beyonce's tapping into the energy of disruption, using humor and theatricality to change the status quo. Like the Joker, she reminds us that sometimes you have to burn the old world down to build a new one. Part 2. The Kendrick Connection. December 24, 2024, I predicted the tour would be called the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour. Then, on January 31st, 2024, I tweeted this, that the dates February 2nd, February 9th, and February 14th would be significant. 2 to 3 of those have been fulfilled as something significant. February 2nd, she announced the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour. Check. February 14th, Valentine's Day. General tickets go on sale for the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour. Check. Now what about February 9th, which is today? The Super Bowl. It's happening in New Orleans. I'm posting this before the Super Bowl. I'm going to timestamp exactly when I posted this, but I'm making a point to get this out before the Super Bowl. So, Kendrick Lamar's headlining the halftime show. Many people wonder why it was Kendrick and not Lil Wayne, with the Super Bowl being in New Orleans and Lil Wayne tied to New Orleans. I believe it's because Kendrick is going to be tying in with Beyonce and a third surprise announcement, and I think it's going to be something bigger than any of us can imagine.
What happened at the New Orleans?
What Beyonce video takes place in New Orleans? Formation. The song where she is saying, get in formation. Literally, get information, get educated. Because that leads to finding the truth that can look similar to the lies like we discussed before. Formation is a song that she performed wearing a Black Panther uniform at the Super Bowl the same year before the CMAs in 2016, which was part of the backlash of her performing daddy lessons because the white folks in the fake country community didn't like her Black Power stance at the Super Bowl with Formation, which is why her also performing Cowboy Carter for the first time at the Beyonce Bowl is so significant and America's pastime game. Here we have Kendrick, who is bringing what we know is going to be a black halftime show to the Super Bowl, the same place Beyonce brought the message of Malcolm X in a Super Bowl. Now we know Beyonce and Kendrick share this message of freedom and social justice in their work, freeing their people. She even enters the Beyonce Bowl to the instrumentation of freedom, her song with Kendrick on Lemonade. Part of the continued lack of freedom and equality for black people in America is tied to the failure of the Reconstruction era that took place in the 1800s. Reconstruction was meant to help formerly enslaved people integrate into society by granting land, voting rights, and full citizenship, but it never truly happened. Systemic racism, Jim Crow laws, and white supremacist violence blocked the progress at every turn. Another huge issue we still feel to this day as a result of the failed Reconstruction is redlining. The racist practice where banks and governments systematically refuse loans and mortgages to black communities. It became one of the most powerful tools of racial discrimination. It kept black families from building generational wealth through homeownership, forcing them into the underfunded neighborhoods with fewer resources, worse schools, and less economic opportunity. This practice reinforced the racial wealth gap that began with the failure of the Reconstruction, and it still affects black communities to this day in 2025. Beyonce stage designer S. Devlin specifically states in this British Vogue article that redlining and rodeo culture were influences to Beyonce when she was creating the Renaissance World Tour. She says a lot of very interesting Easter eggs. I'll read this full quote by S. Devlin. Redlining. I had only learned about it through the Compton Super Bowl halftime show. Beyonce had been thinking about that a lot herself, completely independently. Her mother, Miss Tina, grew up in Galveston, Texas, that kind of funny split of land in Texas. Interestingly enough, Florence Welch, her great-grandparents came from Galveston as well. Obviously, big white wealthy oil barons who had a big house. They both come from the same place, but obviously a completely different experience. Beyonce's mother, as a black girl, wasn't even allowed on the beach. Well, you know, the stories in Florence's family are about horses being trapped in the stables when the flood came. And Beyonce's very curious. She's a big researcher. She loves poetry. She wants to dive in, and she's very hungry for meaning. She's got kids. She doesn't want to bother unless it means something. Beyonce was interested in country. I think she had a really bad experience at a country music award show. She wanted to research its African-American roots. She discovered that 50% of cowboys were black in the 19th and earliest 20th century, and country music, of course, has been largely appropriated. She wanted to reappropriate Americana and country music from a black perspective, hence the cowboys and why they are wearing red. They are her aligning these two ideas of redlining in these towns and cowboys. She made a series of extraordinary films during lockdown, not out yet. So that, she says a lot, but it's also very cryptic. She says Beyonce's passionate about redlining, and that's why the cowboys are red on the Renaissance World Tour. You see, confirmed by S. Devlin, Beyonce is extremely intentional even when no one would get that message. I don't think I would even come to that conclusion that that's why the cowboys are red, because of this redlining duality of vastly different experiences of someone like Miss Tina, a black girl, versus Florence Welch's family, wealthy white oil barons, the completely different experiences of white and black people in the South. Speaking of, I think it's such a strange mention of Florence Welch in this article. Florence Welch is the British singer of Florence and the Machine, so I guess her family came from Texas. I don't know how she ended up in England. Florence and the Machine's first single that was huge was called The Dog Days Are Over, tying back to Sirius. That's where we get the term The Dog Days Are Over from Sirius, the dog star, because it's Canis Major, and Beyonce has a trademark in Canis Major. Make this make sense? This is even too wild for me. We also learn from S. Devlin that Beyonce made a series of extraordinary films during lockdown. First of all, does S. Devlin not have an NDA? Because why is she spilling all this tea? There's double meanings, double entendres. The only thematic connection between Renaissance, the Revolution, and Cowboy Carter is the cover of America Has a Problem featuring Kendrick Lamar. The tarps over the flag during the Beyonce Bowl signify America still under construction to the failure, the Reconstruction era. America is still under Reconstruction. Kendrick comes out wearing a high-vis construction outfit for his feature on his verse, and America Has a Problem on the Renaissance World Tour. Construction tarps, America under construction. He's in a construction uniform. They are ushering in a new Reconstruction era through their art and music. I go very in-depth on this on my America Under Construction video, and you can watch it here. The song she performs at the Beyonce Bowl after walking out to freedom is Ya Ya, where she sings Wildfire Burnt This House Down. Insurance ain't gonna pay no Fannie Mae. This is a reference to redlining. Let's break it down. Wildfire burnt this house down. Insurance ain't gonna pay no Fannie Mae. Here, Beyonce is painting a picture of loss, destruction, and financial abandonment. The wildfire could symbolize a literal destruction, fires and disasters, or systemic destruction, economic collapse and racial inequities. When she says insurance ain't gonna pay, she's calling out how insurance companies often fail to fully compensate homeowners, especially those in Black and marginalized communities. This is especially eerie given the wildfires in California and its effect on not just rich people, but regular working-class people and the communities in Altadena, for example. No Fannie Mae, referencing the Federal National Mortgage Association, known as Fannie Mae. It was created after the Great Depression to help Americans afford homes. The key idea here is that Fannie Mae provides financial backing for mortgages, making home ownership accessible. But this line suggests that insurance companies don't operate with the same level of financial support or security for homeowners, especially in crisis. How did this tie to redlining? Redlining in Fannie Mae's role is that redlining was a practice in which the banks and lenders refused the loans to Black and non-white communities, marking their neighborhoods as high risk on the map. Fannie Mae, meanwhile, while helping millions of Americans buy homes, reinforced these discriminatory policies of redlining by backing mortgages only in predominantly white areas. This exclusion meant Black families were locked out of generational wealth through homeownership and had insurance discrimination. Even after redlining was outlawed, Black homeowners continued to face discrimination via insurance policies through higher premiums, lower payouts, or outright denial of coverage. When disasters strike like wildfires, hurricanes, or economic crisis like the 2008 crash, Black homeowners are left with little or no compensation, making it incredibly hard or nearly impossible to recover. So what is Beyonce saying? This lyric is exposing the cycle of systemic neglect. Just like redlining denied Black families access to mortgages, insurance companies today continue to devalue Black communities, referring to pay out or support them in times of crisis. Beyonce is highlighting how for Black homeowners, the promise of financial security, whether from insurance banks or federal programs, has never been solid as it was for white America. By invoking Fannie Mae in this lyric and Yaya, she's referencing this history of exclusion, showing that many Black Americans, homeownership has always been a battleground where financial systems abandoned them when they needed the most help. So we have Beyonce using Black Panthers in Mood Forever, Kendrick using Black Panthers in the Squabble Up video, Beyonce using the Pan-African flag in the Renaissance World Tour, Kendrick using the Pan-African flag in the Squabble Up video. Beyonce and Kendrick collaborate on Nile from Black is King, a song named after the Nile River whose annual flooding was signaled by the heliacal rising of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, the diamond in the sky, the dog star Canis Major. This is significant because both Beyonce and Kendrick represent duality. Beyonce is a Virgo and Kendrick is a Gemini. The sign represented by twins. Beyonce's twins, Remy and Sir, are Geminis. Both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by the planet Mercury, the planet of communication, intelligence, and adaptability. Communication, Verizon. Mercury is also associated with quicksilver, liquid mercury, the same reflective silver substance that poured over Beyonce's body during the Renaissance World Tour, visually echoing Neo's transformation in The Matrix when a similar quicksilver substance covers his body. This ties into the themes of rebirth, evolution, and higher consciousness. Furthermore, silver is the metal of the moon, which goes back to Artemis and Apollo, the twin deities. Apollo associated with sun and Artemis the moon. Beyonce is on the moon. Renaissance era was all silver. The moon is ruled by silver. The Apollo space program, which first put man on the moon, links directly to the symbolism, and now with Beyonce standing on the moon in Cowboy Carter, we see a return of the feminine to reclaiming this space. Additionally, Las Vegas is known as the Silver State, reinforcing the symbolic connection between Mercury, silver, and transformation. The date 211 may also hold significance, echoing the twin motif. Apollo 2, the mission that first landed on the moon, and Beyonce's duality as she steps into the masculine and feminine power as seen in this photo, wearing the same outfit, but one is the feminine version and one is the masculine version. I believe both 2/9 and 2/11 something is happening. There will be an announcement regarding Las Vegas dates and possibly the Jordan Peele film or something with Monkey Paw Production, given their recent denial of their involvement with Beyonce, i.e. reverse psychology. I think that on Valentine's Day, there's going to be some kind of documentary on Netflix called Thank You Love B, because she holds many trademarks with different constellations of this title. Thank You Love B, Love Beyonce, etc., etc. I know Monkey Paw is doing something similar with the history of black cowboys, but I'm not sure that the two are exactly the same. I got to Valentine's Day being a significant date not only because of the Valentine's Day post outside of Circus, but because Beyonce has been proven to be teasing the rollout of this 3-act project in her IvyHeart collections. Part 3. IvyHeart. 2021's IvyHeart Rodeo is most notably the one that foreshadowed Cowboy Carter 3 years in advance. But she even foreshadowed the IvyHeart Rodeo on July 31st, 2020. A year before, where she rocked the same lavender cow print in Black is King, which makes me very suspicious of IvyHeart, her Valentine's Day collection, which dropped 3 years ago on February 9th, 2022. You see, we keep having these dates, 2/11, 2/9. They keep coming up over and over again. IvyHeart releases February 9th, 2022, 3 years to the date of the Super Bowl with Kendrick in the halftime that's happening later today. This collection features a lot of red and hearts and was super cute, by the way. Exactly 1 year after IvyHeart drops on February 9th, 2022, we get IvyHeart Trail, released on February 9th, 2023. So IvyHeart and IvyHeart Trail were released exactly a year apart from each other. They both fall on February 9th, and again, February 9th is the day that the Super Bowl is dropping. So, the IvyHeart Trail features motorcycles in its promotion, which of course echoes this motif of motorcycles that we've also been seeing Beyonce with over and over again. This one in the 2022 British Vogue shoot, where she's full-on channeling Niobe in the Matrix with the Bantu knots on her head, the red and blue lights, so that's one motorcycle. Then there were her embodying 3 different motorcycle looks in Halloween 2024. One where she's channeling Barbed Wire. It's played by Pamela Anderson, this character Barbed Wire. Barbed Wire is an independent bounty hunter in a dystopian future, again tying to my Matrix theory. But more interestingly, Barbed Wire works as a bodyguard for her ex-husband. This flips traditional gender roles, positioning the female as the lead protector rather than the protected. Hello, the song Bodyguard on Cowboy Carter is exactly that story. Another Halloween look was this one, where she is channeling Betty Davis, again with a motorcycle. And it's for the album This Is It. Betty Davis was a funk legend who was severely underrated in her time and should be amongst the names like David Bowie and Funkadelic when it comes to pioneers of rock and funk music. I do a deeper dive on Betty Davis in this video if you'd like to see that. And lastly, we see Beyonce channeling Prince in her Halloween 2024 look, but most notably Prince in Purple Rain, famously with this motorcycle. More on Prince in a bit. And finally, we see this image from the Cowboy Carter vinyl book, and it's her with a motorcycle. There's a star on fire over what looks like a stage riser. This is foreshadowing the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit tour, which has a star-shaped stage. It's also foreshadowing her performance of Ya Ya at the Beyonce Bowl, which has a similar star behind her. Now take a closer look at the motorcycle in this image. It's the head of a horse. It takes a minute to see it, but when you see it, you can see it very clearly. It is the head of a horse. I first thought it was an ant. Look at it like the nose is up at the front, and it looks like it's breathing fire. A fire-breathing horse motorcycle. That's what I'm seeing. So what I think Beyonce is doing here is there's gonna be a secret Act 4 in the form of a film directed by Jordan Peele and Nadia Lee Cohen. Let me explain. Many of us have this theory that Act 2 will have 2 parts. Andrew McCausey, her creative director, posted this on his stories right after the Chitlin Circuit tour announcement. It shows how the vinyl of Renaissance had Renee's head on the back. The Cowboy Carter vinyl had the midsection of Chardonnay on the back, meaning the third act will be the horse's bum. He also posted this picture of Beyonce on this black horse, the one that I theorize that the white horse is turning back to black. In the Beyonce Bowl teaser, when she says, look at that horse and the legs are turning back to black. She's turning these genres back to black. If you want to see a lot more on this, watch my video, The Horse is Turning Back to Black, Beyonce's Outlaw Era. Now, so what I think is happening, Beyonce's going to be embodying the dark side of the cowboy archetype, which is the outlaw. The darkness is associated with the feminine, the dark feminine. The sun is light and masculinity. The dark is moon, receptive, femininity. So, if the horse's body is completed in these 3 vinyls, This is what I think. There's Act 1 Renaissance, Act 2 Cowboy Carter, Act 2 Part 2 of Cowboy Carter. It completes the horse. The silver horse, the white horse, and the black horse. But then there's going to be a hidden Act 4, which will be a film and an album directed by Jordan Peele, not Lee Cohen. And in this film, Beyonce is going to be riding a motorcycle. This motorcycle with the head of a horse, playing a badass female anti-hero type character like Niobe, like Barbed Wire, like Prince. And this character would be named Betty Black. You know what a slang term for a motorcycle is? A Black Betty. I think the Black Betty tour that we see on the cover of this newspaper is tied to this secret Act 4 that I'm theorizing. And of course, there would be an Act 4 because this bitch loves the number 4. But it's not just going to be an album, it's going to be a film, and not just any film, it's going to be radically different. I think Renaissance and Cowboy Carter Act 2 Part 2 completing the trilogy will launch us into a different stratosphere with whatever has been done in music before. Beyonce's going to redefine it again. She's going to have a Beyonce self-titled moment Part 2. The world is going to stop. I think she's going to be releasing a surprise film, just like she invented the surprise album, something that has never been done before. People don't drop surprise films, and the only person who could do this is Beyonce. She revolutionized the surprise visual album, and now she's revolutionizing the surprise visual album and film. Going back to Yaya, this song is the most in your face regarding reclamation. The lyric whole lot of red in this white and blue, history can't be erased, is also in reference to red blood, but you can also look at it as red love, that duality, which brings me back to this Valentine's Day theme. In front of Circus, we see her saying Happy Valentine's Day in front of Circus. It was only 2 days after the Super Bowl she made this post. Cowboy Carter drops and she posted the Texas Hold'em cover and she has a heart over her kitty cat. What do we see in the Texas Hold'em teaser that she also drops for this Valentine's Day post? The sign that she drives by, Radio Texas, 100,000 watts of healing power. And what are the lyrics in my house? Lend her soul to intuition, Renaissance, new revolution. Pick me up even if I fall. Let love heal us all, heal us all, heal us all. Beyonce's ushering in a new revolution. My House was the only song performed at the Beyonce Bowl that was not on Cowboy Carter, but it also wasn't technically on Renaissance. The song is a bridge between the two worlds as it premiered after the Renaissance tour film. I think a lot of people miss the deeper message in My House is that it's Beyonce reclaiming her rightful place in country music and the South is her house. She's speaking directly to those who tried to reject her from the fake country music establishment, reminding them that they cannot have any grounds to reject her on because the establishment is a house of cards. History cannot be erased. Their foundation is false. When she sings Get the F Up Out My House, she means the South, making it clear this genre, this history, this land, it belongs to her. Linda Martell, Shabuzi, the Pointer Sisters, Brittany Spencer, Tierra Kennedy, Tanner Adele, Raina Roberts, the list goes on. Country music in the South was built by black people on stolen land, using stolen sounds and stolen labor with stolen people. The only people with any real claim to country music are African Americans who brought these songs from Africa and used them to help persevere through unimaginable circumstances to transform and alchemize their trauma into triumph. I cover the legacy of how daughter is a response to daddy lessons in my video Father's Daughter if you want more of the black country music history. But that is what My House is about. Re-listen to it with this context in mind. I grew up in this house, which is the South. I blew up in this house. Don't give a F about my house and get the F about my house. She's talking to these CMA people. You don't care about my house? You don't care about the real history? Then get out of here. Beyonce saying, get the F up out of her house. Get out of the South. The South is hers. This is her house. Do you get me? Now, because Beyonce has more touch, grace, and control than I ever will, she wants to heal the world through love. Personally, me, I like destruction. But she closes My House with the lyric, let love heal the world. Time back to the themes, Valentine's Day, IvyHeart, the Renaissance, the Revolution, and the Revolution of Love. Do you remember how Beyonce opens a Renaissance World Tour? With Dangerously in Love. Love is dangerous to those who seek harm because love is the greatest healing force and will always triumph over hate. It is the greatest weapon. This idea of love as a revolutionary act is one she shared with Prince. What is Prince? His band, Prince and the Revolution. Beyonce's ushering in a new revolution in the legacy of Prince. Prince famously performed with a gun microphone, saying, "My words of peace go through the gun and nullify its power." It was a symbol of peace overpowering violence, of using artistry as a weapon. That's why during I'm That Girl, Beyonce sings, "These mother effers ain't stopping me," into the gun microphone. Her weapon is love and creativity. And here's where the synchronicity gets even more wild. In 2004, Beyonce and Prince performed together at the Grammys. That same night, Beyonce won her first solo Grammy. For what? Dangerously in Love. The night marked her arrival as a solo icon on an album titled Dangerously in Love, alongside an artist who embodied love as a revolution. Everything comes full circle. Loop the sample. They looped. I looped. I believe this is what she's getting at in the Loop the Sample interlude. Let me remind you, Renaissance is a rebirth, and the secret to eternal youth is constantly being reborn in this life, surrendering to constant deaths and rebirths, just like the annual scorching heat of the dog days of summer to the replenishing of soil in the earth and the Nile. Shedding your old skin over and over to become new over and over again. That's how Beyonce has stayed relevant for all of these years, because she's never rested on her old laurels, rested on her old achievement. She's always seeked to keep evolving, which is something not many people do. And I'm not talking just artists, I'm talking anyone. How many people get to 24, 25, 26 and just kind of stay the same because they don't want to go through the pain of having to be reborn? Because pain comes with rebirth. Birth is a painful process. But the reason her legacy has lasted and her music has stayed so fresh, and she's winning Best New Dance Album, Best New Country Album, doing revolutionary things 25 years into her career when her peers are nowhere to be seen, or they're singing the same old songs and she's trailblazing new paths, is because spiritually Beyonce is not scared of that spiritual death and rebirth that it takes to stay young forever. Spiritually, do you know what I mean? Now, what symbolizes rebirth more than a snake shedding old skin? And do you know what the primary design of the IvyHeart collection was? You guessed it, snake skin. And guess what the year of 2025 is? The year of the snake. Now you're thinking, LB, that's a reach. But you should know by now that I don't just say things unsubstantiated. The only IvyHeart campaign that ever acknowledges a Chinese New Year is IvyHeart, where they specifically wished Happy Year of the Tiger when the collection launched. But here's the thing, there was no tiger print in the collection, it was all snakeskin. Now, if this was an intentional foreshadowing to the Year of the Snake, then why was IvyHeart the only IvyHeart campaign to acknowledge the Chinese New Year? I established IvyHeart Trail was released on the same day a year later, February 9, 2023. Chinese New Year always happens around this same time of year, but there was no mention of Happy Year of the Rabbit in 2023, no post about that during the IvyHeart Trail rollout. It was just this Happy Year of the Tiger Chinese New Year during the IvyHeart rollout, and then we are here now in 2025, the Year of the Snake, and all these major events are unfolding in and around Valentine's Day. 100,000 watts of healing power. Most importantly, the launch of Cowboy Carter and the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit tour tickets is going to be sold on Valentine's Day. Coincidence? I don't think so. So what does all this really mean? Beyonce's message of love is more than just a call to choose peace over fear and anger. It's a revolutionary act of empowerment and self-liberation. Love in her work is about reclaiming space, defying oppression, and healing from personal and cultural wounds. It's not just emotional. Love becomes a literal tool for transformation, a war of love, fueling action and resistance against systems that seek to silence or control. Her songs are challenging us to use love not only to heal but as a force for change and resilience, urging us to embrace love as this weapon, just like the gun microphone. And with that said, let's dig one layer deeper in regards to love. Just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell me your theories. Help get this content out to more people. I'd love for you to tag me and let me know what you think about these videos. Again, if you want to support my work, you can keep your eyes peeled for my YouTube channel memberships launching, or buy me a coffee at the link below at buymeacoffee.com/lorebreakers. Again, this video is purely for my love of Beyonce, and your support means everything. Back to Beyonce. Part 4. Ocean Energy. This is Beyonce embodying Ocean, the Yoruba goddess of love, beauty, sensuality, fertility, rivers, healing, justice, and the divine feminine. A deity of both sweetness and power. She can seduce, nurture, heal, but also punish when necessary. Beyonce directly references this energy in Black Parade when she sings Onk Charm on Gold Chains with my ocean energy. This is Beyonce embodying Venus/Aphrodite, the Roman and Greek goddess equivalent of love, beauty, seduction, and desire. During Virgo's groove, she's in this clamshell. This is drawing from Botticelli's iconic Renaissance painting, The Birth of Venus, the symbol of divine femininity and rebirth. And this is Beyonce embodying Hathor, the Egyptian goddess of love, beauty, motherhood, music, dance, fertility, and joy, a divine force of pleasure and creation. Hathor was revered as a goddess of abundance and feminine power, often linked to Venus in her embodiment of sensuality and attraction, as well as Ocean, the Yoruba Orisha of love and fertility, like I just mentioned. All these deities share a deep connection to music, dance, and the sacred expression of feminine divinity. Hathor is also symbolically tied to the cow, representing nourishment, fertility, and the motherly aspect of the divine feminine. This connection is visually echoed in Beyonce's work, such as the cow print motifs in IvyHeart, Rodeo, and Black is King, subtly nodding to her alignment with Hathor's energy. Beyonce has time and time again lined herself with cross-cultural goddesses of love, beauty, sensuality, and motherhood, because ultimately that is what Beyonce wants, to lead with love and allow it to be a force that heals the world. Going back to how she opened the Renaissance World Tour with Dangerously in Love, there's a track on that album called Daddy, the first in what I believe is an ongoing thread of Daddy songs. There's Daddy on Dangerously in Love, a song where she's still vulnerable, just starting out as a solo artist in the industry and still needs the protection of her father. Fast forward to Daddy Lessons on Lemonade, the moment she begins to internalize the lessons of self-protection. Oh, my daddy said shoot. Find her way back. In Black is King, 2016, a song directly tied to Beyonce finding her way back to her roots in black country music history after being rejected from the CMAs for performing Daddy Lessons. And then finally, Daughter on Cowboy Carter in 2024, the moment she fully steps into her father's teachings, becoming his daughter in the truest sense. In Daddy Lessons, she sings, oh, my daddy said shoot, and in Daughter, she does. She closes Beyonce Bowl with a bang. If you want, again, a deeper analysis of this theme, I recommend watching my video, Father's Daughter. With all that said, Beyonce has transformed into something new. A new animal, she says at the end of the Renaissance tour film. She's an artist who has fully integrated her light and dark. She is no longer just a performer or an icon. She is a fearless, independent agent of change who wields power without fear, and she is using it to blaze a path forward for those who do not yet have that power, and she's going to do it with love. So with that said, I believe that today at the Super Bowl on 2/9, there's going to be some kind of big announcement tied in with Kendrick. I think there's going to be something happening on February 11th and on February 14th. We already know the tickets are going on sale that day, but I have a feeling that might be when she drops something with Monkey Paw Productions, the Thank You Love B, something with that. But those dates are all very significant, and I think that she's going to be establishing some kind of rodeo circus annual festival on those Las Vegas festival grounds, which is echoing also back to why she had those Cowboy Carter tour trucks at Stagecoach and Coachella. Was she foreshadowing this? You see, establishing a legacy, establishing a festival that will support artists, black artists, and artists who are underrepresented. As we know, so many festivals are so behind in so many ways. How was she the first person to headline Coachella as a black female artist in 2018? Do you see what I mean? That is the way to create a legacy, not just uplifting yourself, but uplifting everybody else around you. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. Do you have any theories or connection that you've made after seeing all of this? Is there something I missed, a connection I missed? I'm sure there is, because there is so much to talk about with all of this. I'm so excited for the Super Bowl. I'm gonna rush now to get this video all edited together so it can drop before the Super Bowl halftime show. In every move she makes. If you made it to the end of this video, drop a black heart, an American flag, and a rocket ship in the comments, symbolizing the black reclamation of America's true beating heart and the promise for a better future. That's all for now. Love, Lore Breakers.